Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Europe and how Trump is blackmailing them. Secondly, I'm going to be talking about a possible ground invasion of Iran and why Iran thinks all this negotiation talk is just a ruse. I'm going to be talking about India. There seems to be huge oil and gas shortages in India. And what does this mean? Um, This is India thinking they will overtake China's GDP by 2027. So 1 year to go, guys. Come on, Indians, you can do it. And I'm going to be talking lengthily about Philippines. They seems to be huge gas and oil issues in Philippines, and Bongbong Marcos is looking to make deals with China regarding oil and gas extraction from the from the South China Sea. So I'm going to be discussing that. I'm going to be talking about all the military bases in Philippines and also this statement by Trump saying that Saudi Arabia is fighting with the United States against Iran. And what does this mean? So before I start, guys, don't forget to like and share. If you watch the video to the end, it really helps the algorithm. It also helps when you comment and like, and you know what to do. And also, I'm trying to raise my backup channel as well. The channel name is in the description. If you can kindly look at some old videos and bring up the watch hours for that. You can just run in the background, keep the sound off. That will be just as good. And yeah, I'm just trying to have a backup channel because this channel might get banned. So I just want to have something in place. And the reason it might get banned because there's a lot of people getting banned at the moment on YouTube. And yeah, I just want to prepare just in case. Anyway, without further ado, let's start with the show. So Europe has put itself in a really precarious position. They have basically put all of their eggs in one basket, and that basket is the United States. And anybody and everybody knows that United States does not have any friends or allies. He only has interests. And this von der Leyen, this woman, I remember when she cut off all the Russian gas and oil. Well, obviously they're still buying, but very small amounts. And she was saying that how Russia is using basically chips from washing machines and things like that, refrigerators. I mean, this woman, she came on stage and Biden was standing right behind her. And she came on stage and she says, we will buy American gas and American oil, American LNG. We will buy from our friends. That was her words. She says, we will buy from our friends. And Biden was behind her smirking. He had a really sneaky smile in his face. And she says, we don't want to buy from Russia because they are not our friends, but we will buy from our friends from America. That was her words. And people all around the room clapping and cheering, saying, yeah, yeah, we're going to buy from America. They are our friends. They are our allies. Yay. Little did she know that the cost of LNG is up to 8 to 10 times more expensive compared to, pipeline gas. Because LNG, you have to convert to solid form, then you have to transfer it across the Atlantic Sea. And right now it's very expensive because the cost of oil, as you know, has gone up. So it becomes very, very expensive to transport. And once you transport, you got to unload it into ports. And obviously, you got to spend a lot of money converting those ports that can receive LNG tankers. Then you got to convert the tankers from solid back to gas again. All of this costs money, guys. And rather than going through pipeline where it's simple and easy, you have to go through this whole process, and everything from start to end costs at least 8 to 10 times more expensive than pipeline gas. And because of that, she has destroyed the European industry and all the people who have voted for her and all the people who have voted for um, American gas instead of Russian gas. They all need to be responsible. And it's basically the whole of EU, all of them, apart from, I think, Orban maybe. And yeah, apart from Orban. But rest of them, they're all responsible, guys, every single one of them. And also, they were cheering on when the Nord Stream gas pipeline got blown up by the Americans. They're all cheering on. And there was a Poland minister who sent a tweet out saying, "Thank you, USA." And he immediately deleted that tweet afterwards. Maybe he got a call from the United States or something. So now they have put themselves in a position where they are completely dependent on American gas and LNG. And now Trump is blackmailing them with it. And there is supposed to be a trade deal happening between United States and America. And because of all the tariffs and threats to Greenland, the Europeans have basically put it on hold. And now Trump is using this current war they're having with Iran. He's using that scenario to blackmail Europe. He's saying that, he's saying basically either you agree that trade deal or I will cut off your gas. That's what he's saying. And America doesn't care because they can sell that gas anywhere around the world. There are a lot of countries who need it right now. And the Europeans are absolutely stuck. They don't know what to do. And it's all their own fault. They have completely cut off Russia and all of the allies, including China as well, all to please the United States. They have put everything into the basket for the United States. And now Europe is being absolutely blackmailed. They are being deindustrialized because the cost of energy is so high. Companies are just, shutting down all across Europe. And because companies are shutting down all across Europe, they are having to import more goods from China, from other parts of the world, and this is why their trade deficit with China is increasing. The euro is going down because they have less goods to export. So less and less countries are using the euros. So you see, guys, Europe, its golden days are over. It's over for them, and I don't see how the European Union can last. I think more and more countries are going to start leaving the EU and doing their own business with other countries around the world, especially with China. They will have their own trade agreements with China. What's the point of being with Europe when you have this unelected woman, von der Leyen, running your foreign policy for you and destroying your economy because she wants to put all of her eggs in one basket, which is United States? It's a shame, guys. I mean, Europe, when it first started, it was very good. It was almost on a par with the United States in terms of GDP, and it was all these countries put together. They were very, very powerful in the beginning, and over the years, they've just become loyal servants to the United States. They have completely destroyed the economy to please the United States. They should have had their own policies, and this war in Ukraine has completely destroyed them. Completely destroyed them. And Ukraine is not even part of. It's not even part of Europe. It was United States that pushed Ukraine to join NATO. It was Victoria Nuland who basically orchestrated the Maidan coup, where Ukraine had elected leader, and it was United States and Victoria Nuland especially who basically got rid of him, and they put some puppet in place. And this puppet has been trying to be pro USA, and they thought that Russia was weak at the time. They thought, you know what, let's get Ukraine to join NATO, and Russia's not going to do anything because they're weak. And then we will completely rule Europe. Then we will, basically try and separate Russia into smaller states, balkanize them. That was their plan. And they wanted to control Russia and its resources and have nuclear weapons right on their doorstep in Ukraine. And that was the big plan. That was the big goal. But unfortunately for them, they did not expect Russia to fight back. They did not expect Russia to fight back against Ukraine and all its NATO weapons and all of the everything that NATO provides to Ukraine. Russia is basically fighting NATO. They're not just fighting Ukraine. And so they didn't expect that. They didn't expect Russia to fight. And even if Russia did fight, they thought, let's sanction Russia to hell and Russia will collapse. Their famous words were, ruble will be turned to rubble. That's what they said. But, but fast forward to today, ruble is not turned to rubble. The ruble is one of the most powerful currencies in the world right now. A lot of countries are using the ruble to buy Russian gas and oil. And Russia's military has become 10 times more better because of this war. They are far more organized. Their weapons have been tried and tested with all of the latest gear that NATO has been providing. They have got lots of experience now fighting NATO. They have been stealing NATO weapons, from the battlefield and reverse engineering them, so they're and using that to improve their own weapons. And they have found ways to kind of withstand all of the NATO super weapons that have been given to Ukraine, like HIMARS and Tomahawks and all the drones. So Russia has been finding ways to counteract them. So this is really, really good intelligence for Russia. So Russia's military has improved a hell of a lot because of this war in Ukraine. And their economy has become much, much better. The Russian economy now, because of all the sanctions, they had to basically build their own manufacturing and build their own industries. They don't have to buy from Europe anymore or from the United States. And it's also helped China as well. And China has been providing Russia with everything that it needs for the war, like chips. They are not coming from washing machines and what von der Leyen says. They're basically coming from China. And China has been helping Russia buying Russian gas and oil as well. And they have been providing lots of help and technology to Russia. Anything that Russia doesn't produce, China provides, like EV cars and many other goods and services. So they have also, what they've done is they have increased the bond between Russia and China. All these sanctions and all this war. So this has gone completely against what America wanted. America did not want China and Russia to be such close friends and allies. They have basically pushed each other more, and they have become much more closer as a result. They have made Russia stronger economically. They have made the ruble stronger. They have made the Russian military stronger. So everything that they wanted Russia, everything they wanted Russia to do, like destroy the economy, destroy the military, it's basically the opposite has happened. Opposite has happened of everything they wanted Russia to become. So this is really bad news for United States and for Europe. And now United States wants to basically wash their hands of Russia. So when Trump was elected, he just wants to wash his hands. He wants to blame Europe for everything. When it was the United States and especially Victoria Nuland that orchestrated all of this, they're the ones that caused all of this, the Ukraine war at the moment. Because they pushed Ukraine to join NATO, they gave Ukraine a lot of NATO weapons, de facto NATO bases all around Ukraine, and they were pushing Ukraine to fight in Donbass. They were basically killing Russians in Donbass. It was all via American weapons. So, so they basically made Russia into something that they did not want, something they cannot fathom to have as an adversary. So Trump has basically come around and trying to wash his hands, trying to pretend that he's innocent, saying, "Oh, it's not nothing. The Ukraine war has nothing to do with us," when he was 100% the United States to blame. And Europe, if Europe had a pair of balls, right, Europe would have basically stood up and said, "This Ukraine war is nothing to do with us. It's America that started it. America started it. Victoria Nuland pushed a regime change. She pushed a coup, and then they wanted to force Ukraine to join NATO. They were putting all these de facto military bases all over Ukraine. They were pushing Ukraine to fight in the Donbass. So Europe should have had its own balls and said, you know what? America is interfering with our business because Ukraine is next to all of our European nations. So America needs to be out of our needs to be out of our business. Same way America basically asked Europe to be out of South America's business because Europe is not allowed to be anywhere near South America because of the, I think it's called the Monroe Doctrine or something. And same way Europe should have been strong enough to say, America, stay out of our business, stay out of Europe, don't interfere. That's what Europe should have done. And because they didn't do that, because they acted so weak, America is now running rings around the Europeans. And it's well deserved. And I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe next year or the year after that Trump basically tries to take Greenland from Europe. I wouldn't be surprised, guys. And if he does, then Europe will be completely to blame for it. It's not. It's not. I wouldn't blame Trump for it. I wouldn't blame United States for it. I would blame completely Europe for it, for being completely weak. And it's their own fault. And they wouldn't even dare to fight United States like the Iranians are. You know, Trump will take Greenland without even a shot being fired. So that's how much of weaklings that Europeans have become. They would never fight for Greenland. Not even one soldier. Not even they just wouldn't. Even the Greenlanders are not going to do it. The Greenlanders are not heavily armed anyway, so they can't even fight. To be honest. So yeah, this is all Europe's own fault, guys. Completely. How would you say self-inflicted? Yeah, that's the word, self-inflicted. All right, let's move on to the next story. So there seems to be some soldiers going to seems to be some soldiers heading to Iran. Possible foot soldiers invading some islands, maybe, or the coast of the Hormuz. Who knows? Huh. But the Iranians know about this. The Iranians basically said that all of this ceasefire talk that Trump is talking about, all this negotiation talk that Trump wants, it's basically it's all a smoke shadow. It's all basically another trap to trap the Iranians into false sense of security. So they start having negotiations with the United States again, and behind their back, basically the Israelis and Americans are planning to attack Iran even more. Because at the end of the day, guys, Trump has got a huge ego. He's not going to come out of this like as a loser. So he's going to do everything he can to come out as a winner. They want Iranian oil and they want the Strait of Hormuz. That's what the Americans want. And the only way they can get it is by a ground operation. And I think that's what they're planning. They're planning on, this is the map, by the way. So let me show you a map. So this island here called the Targ Islands. And that's what the Americans want because 80-90% of the oil apparently goes from this island. And I don't think that's true, by the way. I think this is just something they've made up. However, to get to the island, they have to go through the Strait of Hormuz. And if you go through the strait, any ship inside the Strait of Hormuz is basically danger because um, Iran can easily fire missiles from the coast. They have underwater submarines. They have cruise missiles they can fire. They have anti-ship missiles they can fire. They have hypersonic missiles they can fire. And these missiles are very accurate, as you can see. They have been hitting lots of accurate stuff all across Israel. And not only this, they can fire thousands of drones as well. These drones can basically overcome any defenses that these ships might have. So these ships come with lots of defenses, first of all. So what Iran can do, they can fire thousands of these drones, cheap drones, by the way. These drones don't even have to have any bombs in them. They can be just be ordinary drones with no weapons. They can fire thousands of these drones at these ships, and then the ships will use up all of their defenses. They will spend millions and millions trying to shoot down these drones. And then Iran can start firing underwater sea drones and cruise missiles. And by then, these ships will be completely sitting ducks. Any ships around here would be absolutely sitting ducks. They would be easy to easy to destroy because they would have no defenses and they will just be sitting ducks. And even going through the strait, they will be attacked. So first of all, trying to get to the island is going to be a very, very difficult job. And if they can get to the island, let's just say they get to the island, they can get to the island not just by ships, but they can maybe fly in through Kuwait. They can fire. They can send paramilitaries, and they can drop. Those soldiers with parachutes. They can drop maybe thousands of these people with parachutes. They can drop them in the middle of the night or something, and that could happen. But so even if they get these get soldiers in this island, Iran will be firing drones and missiles all day, every day at these islands. Every single day they'll be firing, So these American soldiers in these islands would be absolutely sitting ducks. They can't build anything. They can't build any bases. They will be destroyed. So, so yeah, there is no way they can win. If they want to stop all these drones and cruise missiles coming from the shore, then what America will need to do, they will need to basically take over all of the Hormuz Strait. All of this they will need to take over. If they want to stop basically Iranian missiles and drones coming from the shore. And if you want to take this over, you cannot do that with a few thousand troops. You need at least 250 to 500,000 troops. America doesn't have that. They cannot. That's why they cannot do that. So this whole mission is going to be absolutely impossible for Trump. Okay, guys, let's move on to India now. So you can see from the images, there's huge issues in India. With gas, LNG, LPG, you name it. Modi and India has basically the wrong side again. Throughout history, India has always been picking the wrong side as friends. Throughout history, they've always been doing that. And you can see now all the Indians are suffering. You know, so anybody with high IQ will realize all the oil that India needs, oil, LNG, you name it, all the petrochemical stuff that India needs comes from the Middle East, especially through the Hormuz Strait. So it's within your interest to basically have good relations with those countries, especially Iran, because Iran controls the Hormuz Strait, as you can see. But India bet on the wrong horse again. They bet on Israel. So is Israel going to provide them with all the petrochemicals that India needs? Is Israel going to provide them with all the oil and gas? No, guys, not even a single barrel is going to come from Israel. Not even a single barrel. So again, you can see how India's economy is going to be absolutely destroyed because this guy, this Modi guy, has basically gone to Israel one day before the Iran attack, hugging Netanyahu like a schoolgirl, rubbing his backside, you name it. He was really rubbing himself up against Netanyahu like they were, more than buddies. And now he's come back and he's literally begging Iran to let Indian ships go through the Hormuz Strait. I think they let through two ships because India had to pay some money, and also India gave back some ships to Iran as well. They were holding some Iranian ships. However, India is not far out of the woods yet. India still needs to pay Iran lots of money as well to send more ships through the Hormuz Strait. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck. They're not going to be sent through. And any oil and gas India buys from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE is obviously going to get stuck in the Hormuz Strait. So that's not going to come through there. India cannot even buy it from America or Canada, because any oil and gas that comes from America or Canada has to basically travel through. If it goes through the Atlantic Sea, you have to go through the Atlantic Sea, go through the Suez Canal, come out through the Red Sea, which the Yemens hold. And at the moment, the Yemenis have not really blocked Indian ships from the Red Sea yet, but they might do. And it has to reach India, and that is a long journey, guys. It takes months and months and months, and also it's very expensive, because imagine the cost of travel from all the way from America or Canada, going all the way through there, coming into India. And if they go through the other route, if they go through the Pacific Ocean, he has to go through the Pacific Ocean. Then there's a big choke point in the Malacca Strait, and then he has to cross the Malacca, and he's gonna come all the way around to the Indian Sea from there. And again, this is another long journey, almost as long as the Atlantic Sea. So India is right in a worse spot, right in right in the worst spot where they cannot really get stuff from America or Canada. They have to buy it from the Middle East. And if the Hormuz Strait is closed, then India is in a big trouble. So this guy, this leader of India, which they keep voting for, I don't know why, has completely destroyed Indian economy because he completely put all of his eggs in one basket, which is Israel. And now India is suffering huge consequences because of it. And again, just like Europe, this is all their own doing. It's all self-inflicted. I want to take you to this video here. Have you noticed, guys, that nobody talks about India becoming the next superpower anymore? Have you noticed that? 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, everybody was talking about it. Everybody was saying India is the next superpower. This included all the big YouTubers, all the big analysts were saying it. Big names were saying it, guys. Including, I would say like the Duran and all these other shows and stuff. Even like I've seen Professor Mishama saying it as well. But many analysts were saying it. All the big name analysts were saying that India is the next superpower. But now, not even one person, not even a small YouTube channel will say it. Not even one person. If you say that India is going to be the next superpower, you will be laughed off, absolutely laughed off. Nobody will take you any seriously whatsoever. But 10 years ago, if you said it, everybody would be like, "Wow, what an analyst! I need to follow this guy. This guy's great. He knows everything." But if you say it now that India's going to be the next superpower, they would just laugh at your face. And look at this YouTube channel. I just picked one. This is just one example. This is how deluded the Indians are. He says, this guy, Swami Ryan Swami, he says India will overtake China's GDP by 2027. So one more year to go, guys. Come on, Indians, you can do it. Yes, one more year, and you can overtake China's GDP. Well, let's see how they can take over China's GDP with high energy costs, shall we? So we see that, with high energy costs, you will see industries all over India shutting down because they cannot afford it. They cannot afford competing with prices with China. or United States, for example, because the energy costs are going to be so high, transport costs are going to be so high. You can forget about India ever becoming a superpower, ever. In the history of humanity, I don't think they can ever do it. Not now. Impossible. Impossible, guys. But if you disagree with me and you still think India's going to be the next superpower, please come on the comment section and I will give you a big pat in the back. I will not laugh at your face, I promise. I'll have a discussion with you. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. So I want to talk about Philippines. So Bongbong Marcos Jr. says that he's willing to have a discussion with China regarding oil and gas exploration in the South China Sea. So he wasn't even saying that before. Before, he wanted all that gas, all that oil in the South China Sea to be taken by Philippines. That's what he wanted. But let me tell you something, guys. Philippines does not have any rights to anything in the South China Sea. It's called the South China Sea for a reason. Philippines is a new country. Philippines has always been occupied by other countries. For example, the French occupied Philippines. Even America occupied Philippines, and Philippines had to fight off the Americans. Um, as part of they wanted to become independent, and even the Japanese took over the Philippines as well. Philippines is a nation where they've been always been taken over by other countries. So Philippines does not have any rights to the South China Sea, no rights whatsoever. There was a time when all of Japan took over Philippines. They didn't claim South China Sea. All of America took Philippines, and obviously they wanted what's in the South China Sea, but they wanted to steal it from China. And China is a civilization that's been around for 5,000 years. So all these islands in the South China Sea, all of that is claimed by China for thousands of years. And obviously, the island of Taiwan got taken over by Japan. And after the Second World War, it was given back to China. But then, obviously, after the Civil War, they got separated with Chiang Kai-shek and his army running away to Taiwan. And then the Americans have been protecting Taiwan ever since. But all the islands in the South China Sea all belongs to China. I mean, you can look at maps, historical maps going back thousands of years. It's always belonged to China. And Philippines was just wanted, they just wanted to steal all the resources from it. Philippines is a new country, guys. It's not been around for thousands of years. It's always been occupied by other countries. So China basically did say that, they are happy to share gas and oil resources with the Philippines. And they are willing to do it like just share the resources basically. So obviously, Philippines takes some, China takes some, and whoever invests in it, obviously, whoever puts more money into it will get more money out of it. So if China invests, more than 50%, um, and it's all of China's equipment and all of China's basically skills and everything. So obviously they will take a greater share because whoever it's like a business. Whoever puts more money into the business gets a bigger share of the profits. So that's how it works. But the Philippines wanted it all for themselves. They were being greedy and obviously pushed by United States as well. And but he's changing his mind now. He's changing his mind because he sees how the world has become. You see America now basically going around countries stealing their oil. He's done it to Venezuela, and now he's trying to do it to Iran. He's trying to steal the resources from Iran. And Philippines knows that the world order has changed now. It's not about international law anymore. Now it's about big, powerful countries taking what they can, being bullies, and eventually America might even come for Philippines next. Who knows? They've obviously taken over Hawaii. They've taken over Guam, and there was a time when Philippines was part of the American Empire. They might want to take Philippines again. Who knows? This is what Filipinos have been asking. So maybe it's a good idea for Philippines to start building relationships with China and all the oil and gas that's in the South China Sea. Maybe it's a good idea to jointly develop it with China because China will obviously provide the protection for Philippines. Because if Philippines starts building it all by themselves, America will come and take it. That's how they work. So maybe it's a good idea for them to, work with China instead of causing all this trouble. All this trouble that Philippines is causing China, it's all because America wants them to. And you can see, like, Philippines is an occupied country, guys. You can see from this map, there are about 9 military bases all across the Philippines. Especially, there's about five right next to the island of Taiwan. You can see. So if there's any, obviously war in the Taiwan Strait, I'm not saying there will be, but just in case there is, you have American bases there ready to pounce on China, basically. And they're right next to Taiwan, you can see from the map. And this war in Iran has taught Philippines a big lesson that if you have American bases in your country, you are going to be the target. All of these countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, they all have American bases, Qatar, they've all been targets for Iran. And same way, these bases in the Philippines are not going to last. Any war with China, these bases are going to be the first to be destroyed. And if Philippines gets involved in the war, then the rest of Philippines will be destroyed. I can guarantee you that. And um, and I think Marcos Bongbong Jr. has finally realized that maybe he cannot rely on America anymore. He has to start making friends with China. And all of these bases he thought was a good idea in Philippines is not really a good idea because now Philippines is a target. If America starts a war in the Taiwan Strait, and they might do over the next few years, they might start a war with China. These bases and Philippines would be targets. And America's not going to care about Philippines. We're going to use the Philippines as human shields and as basically bodies to be sent to China to be like meat, to be killed, like the Ukrainians are. They're going to use every single last Filipino, kill the last Filipino to fight the Chinese. That's what they're going to do. Because these bases are controlled by America, and America pretty much controls the Philippines. So they will find a way to get the Philippines to start fighting against Chinese. And obviously, the other countries are Japan, South Korea, Australia. So they'll probably all join in, to be honest. But Philippines are going to be the main target because they are the closest and with the most American bases to Taiwan. So yeah, talking of South America, talking about oh yeah, so another thing, guys. So these bases that you see next to Taiwan, these have been approved by Bongbong Marcos as soon as he came to power. So this guy, Bongbong Marcos, his father was known known guy for being extremely how would you say corrupt. He stole billions and billions from Philippines, went off to live abroad, lived a life of luxury, and his son is now in power. And you can guarantee his son is just as corrupt. And the Americans put him in power, and they put him in power for a reason. And one reason was to approve all of these American bases in the north side of Philippines, because the last Filipino leader, um, who's in jail at the moment, because this guy basically put him in jail with the ICC or ICJ or something, and yeah, so the last guy didn't allow any of these bases to be in Philippines. He wanted a good relationship with China. But this Bongbong Marcos has been put in place, possibly by the Americans. They gave him all the funding that he needed, and they basically made him into the leader of Philippines. And now the first thing he did when he joined was approve all of these military bases. He also went to He also went to the White House. He also went to China as well, but that was just a bargaining chip for him. He just wanted to get as much he can from China while becoming anti-Chinese. So he went to see Biden, and then he came back, and he was extremely hostile to China. Extremely hostile. He was doing all these moves in the South China Sea, becoming hostile to China, saying all these hostility things, kicking out Chinese investments from Philippines. He was becoming extremely hostile. So now he realizes maybe he should work with China. It's too late, guys. Absolutely too late. I wanted to talk a bit more about the Middle East, but I'll leave that for another video because this video is already getting too long. So I'll see you guys next time. Take care for now.